I thought that we're ending the Avowed discussions. You know, that's gonna be the last one and we're not gonna talk it again. Avowed is over, but no. Turns out, not at all. It's not over in the slightest. And it's mind-blowing why. Because the Shills are just not letting go of this one. I don't know why they're willing to fight this long for this one. Typically, the shill life cycle is more or less like this. Vogue piece of crap trailer drops for a game that looks like a Vogue piece of crap. They shill for it. Best game ever. I'm non-binary. Same actually. I'm also very non-binary. And then everyone calls it bad. The developers come out and call everyone chuds, Nazis, and all of those typical words that just inflate my ego that much because it gives me power. Thank you, by the way. And then no one buys it. The game completely collapses. 100, 200, 300, 400 million budget, depending on studio. Sells literally copies that are worth less than 30 million. And collapses. Shills say, oh my god, it's such a success, it had 5k players concurrent on Steam. Actually, this 100% of the player base is actually on Xbox Battle Pass. So stop mentioning Steam numbers. Yeah, that is the typical stupid cope, because these people are stupid and they just non-stop cope. And then the studio comes out and says, hey, our game was a disaster. Who knew? And then they stop talking about this. Avowed has already surpassed it's an official disaster stated by everyone like 3 times. And yet, they're still fighting tooth and nail for this. Insanity. Insanity.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we have an immense amount of cope that I wanted to bring to you guys' screens today. And the reason why I want to talk about this is, quite frankly, it's ridiculous, right? We have an article here from PC Gamer that is talking about Avowed and how Avowed essentially doesn't have to be like Skyrim, doesn't have to have anything that Skyrim had, doesn't have to have anything that the Elder Scrolls series had. And even if it doesn't have all of that, it's still an amazing game and you should be playing it and you should be buying it. I'm telling you right now,
Chud.
I find it ironic that the people who tried to claim that Avowed was going to be the Skyrim killer suddenly is sick and tired of being compared to Skyrim.
Nice. Very nice.
So let's get into this article, guys, from PC Gamer. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. Again, guys, these shills out here that are going crazy over Avowed are going crazy because they're sick and tired of being compared to the superior RPG. I understand where you are trying to make a video.
Calling Skyrim, by the way, a superior RPG, man, that takes balls and low IQ on average, okay? But it's true. It is somehow superior to Avowed, and again, not a Skyrim hater, but I wasn't the biggest Skyrim fan, even though I have like 50, 70 plus hours in that game. Still, it's not the greatest game ever. Like, and the fact that Avowed can't even beat that some magically, how? That's bad.
Game that perhaps is, baby's first RPG. That's essentially what Avowed is. Baby's first RPG. I heard that on Hypnocast and I'll never forget it because it is so accurate as to how to explain what Avowed is to someone. However, even...
Oh, no, I don't think Avowed fits this. Starfield actually fitted this because Bethesda at the time of Starfield still had a little bit of, juice left in the everyone doesn't yet hate Bethesda. And they capitalized on that when they released Starfield, okay? And there were a lot of people who unironically were impressed with Starfield. Because they were Call of Duty players and things like that. And if the only thing you have played in your life is like Call of Duty, Fortnite, and games of similar nature, if you start playing Starfield, it unironically does probably seem like a really, really, really cool, interesting new experience for you. And that is true. That is kind of sad, but it's true. But that doesn't make Starfield good. It's just the fact that this is your first experience in something of that nature. Because previously you never tried it. And most of those people are happy because they get to experience something like that. A new door opens for them. And that's why a lot of people, unironically, did call Starfield a good game, because they just didn't know better. Now, a lot of those people now have tried, Skyrim, ironically, Fallout New Vegas, and have seen the goddamn light itself. Because Fallout New Vegas is the light. And everyone who's gonna try and beat the comment, why do you mention Fallout New Vegas? Just the best role-playing game of that kind that we have. Why are you constantly bringing up the peak performance? Because I have standards, thank you very much. Because I choose to have standards and not live a life of pure fucking slop. Thank you very much.
Even though Avowed doesn't have to be exactly like Skyrim and doesn't have to be exactly like Oblivion, which is sad, by the way, because Oblivion's really old and Skyrim's old too. Even though it doesn't have to be that, at the end of the day, you guys, number one, were calling it the Skyrim killer. You can't exactly kill Skyrim if you're pulling only 19,000 concurrent players. And number two, you guys, you are the one that decided to sell this AA game for AAA price. We're not the ones that price this game at $70. We're not the ones that price this game at almost $100 at early access. You guys are the ones that are charging AAA price for a game that should be, for all intents and purposes, AA, quality, which
Yeah, $30 and maybe people would play this. But 70? And let's be real, it actually costs 90 because early access.
it is. It is AA quality. Avowed is not a AAA game, but you guys are charging the price for one, and that's why people.
By the way, the cope levels of Avowed have been tremendous. Okay, let me. Wait, what happens when I press that? Let me do one thing. Okay, let me do one thing real quick. Oh, it just bugs like that. Okay, Steam DB Avowed. Let's look at Steam DB Avowed. And oh, look at that! A whopping 3K people in there playing it. What a time to be a time, boys. Anyway, let me just share the Steam charts here. Beautiful, beautiful. Let's look at this bad boy right here, okay? Let's look at this bad boy. So, Avowed released. Is it actually okay? So this was the release, 15K. This was the pre-release, 12K. Okay. I made a video when the pre-release, aka the 3-day early access, dropped, just instantaneously calling it a disaster. Because again, I have said this so many times, and I'll say it again because some people just don't learn. Pre-release is release. Okay? Look at Monster Hunter Wilds. Everyone was playing an alpha and then pre-release into everything. And when the game came out, it didn't actually bump it up too much. Look at this. Again, the pre-release was literally 13K. Then at the day one launch, why doesn't it show it any? Okay. The day one launch was literally 15K. 13K versus 15K. Yeah, well, okay, 2.3K more people. You see what I mean? The early pre-order is the real release. Okay, maybe you're gonna get like 20% more extra players when the real release happens, but the majority of people buy the pre-order, buy the early access. That's reality. That was the first cope that people did. It is truly insanity, man. The amount of cope that Avow has in it, it's just phenomenal. Someone should write a book about it or something.
People have every right to criticize the hell out of you. So it says, I don't care about being able to kill everybody and steal the mayor's pants in an RPG like Avowed, and I'm tired of pretending it's mandatory. It's amazing that someone like this will settle for less just because they don't want this game that they're ideologically driven by to fail, which the sad thing is that it is going to fail. As much as you guys want to claim that it's a commercial success or critical success, you guys did the same exact thing with Dragon Age of Veilguard, and we
Nah, these people are just stupid, okay? People who say they don't want their games to have these options are just stupid. They're probably the people who are constantly begging the communism take place because they can't make decisions for themselves, okay? The idea of choice most likely intimidates these people because they have no ability to make choices for themselves. So a game that allows them to do everything and isn't on rails in a single straight line corridor is just scary to them. they don't want choice because then they see the flaws that they're stupid.
We all know how that ended. You guys did the same exact thing with Suicide Squad Killer Justice League, and we all know how that ended. I'm going to give you 6 months to a year, and I guarantee you, you're going to be writing articles about the failure of Avowed and what could have happened to change things, because that's what you do. You lie in the beginning to try to push this game out as much as possible because you're ideologically driven by this game, but then eventually the truth's going to come out and you're going to have to admit it with everybody else, and then suddenly you're going to pretend as if you were always telling the truth. It happens every
Nice.
single time. But let's hear the cope that's coming from this journalist over at PC Gamer. It says, there comes a time, dear reader, when us writers at PC Gamer are at odds, and I find myself on the other side of the fence shouting nonsense, balderdash, tomfoolery at my unfortunate colleagues Joshua Wolins and Robert Zack, who have gotten in their heads that Avowed is somehow lesser for its lack of reactivity or, most crucially, the inability to rob shopkeepers after you paid them.
Hey. If a game has less options than the other game, it doesn't mean the game has less. That's some crazy logic right there.
It is lesser. It is lesser. As much as, listen, nobody say you can't like the game. You are fully within your right to like the game. You can love the game. You can think this is the best game ever. But you can also objectively look at it and say that, yes, it is a lesser RPG than other previous RPGs that are similar to it. There's a reason why people are comparing it to Skyrim. It's Obsidian Entertainment. Why would you not compare it? Just like people compared Outer Worlds to Fallout, they're going to compare Avowed to Skyrim. That's just natural. That's where we're at because people were calling Avowed the Skyrim killer. Not many, but there are some people
I did that. That was great clickbait, by the way. Thank you, boys.
out there were, and those people are nowhere to be found now. They are quiet, they ran away, and they're in hiding right now because they know that Avowed has flopped majorly. But then it says, in fact, Avowed is a game that has come under constant scrutiny for this simple fact. And to be fair, it's to its detractors, they are correct by a technicality. No, we are correct by not a technicality. We are correct just in general. Avowed is not a very reactive game. There's no real stealth system. There's no theft system. There's no bounty system. You can't kill everyone you come across. NPCs don't have daily routines. It's a world trapped in amber that you are invited to wander through, but not live in. If you are expecting those things, you'll be disappointed. Gee, I wonder why people would be expecting those things from Avowed. Could it be perhaps that Avowed is being compared to Skyrim every single second of every single day? Gee, I wonder why people would have that in their mind. Despite the fact that I've been denied these RPG staples as apparently necessary as bread and water, I've somehow managed to enjoy myself. Oh my God, dude, these are not mutually exclusive. You can enjoy yourself and they could still be baby's first RPG. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you can enjoy yourself playing this game, but it.
Yeah, and the worst part about this, listen, I make fun of people who enjoy Avowed because they defend Avowed. If a person says, I enjoyed playing Avowed, but I know it's not the greatest game, that's fine by me. I have literally nothing else to say. The people who enjoy shit because they play it, those are the people that piss me off, okay? Because that just proves that you're kind of weak. You're mentally weak. You're probably also physically weak, okay? People who fear violence have no ability to commit violence of their own. I have the ability to commit a lot of violence if I choose to, so I am always in favor of violence. YouTube, don't, please. YouTube, please, okay? It is what it is. Anyway, and that's true. I mean, for example, I use Diablo 4 example always. Diablo 4 is absolute trash. I know it's trash. Most people know it's trash, but some people defend it because they play it, and they need to make others think that they are playing the superior thing. I have played Diablo 4, even though I have constantly called it trash at this moment nonstop for literally a year and more. I have still played it. If I get super bored and I have nothing to play, maybe I'll play Diablo 4. Is it going to be a good experience? No, but I mean, it's just one of those situations where you have nothing to do and you're like, okay, I'm just gonna play this because there's literally nothing else to do for me at the moment. I don't feel the need to defend Diablo 4 as a great game. It is slop, it is bad, but I play it because there's nothing else. I understand that, and Some people are just incapable of admitting that to themselves. That the things that they like are just bad sometimes.
It doesn't mean that the criticisms about this game is not true simply because you enjoyed the game. It's an insane argument to think they're mutually exclusive. And that's because Avowed is an extremely focused game. Its narrow scope hones in on a few things: combat, exploration, environment, and story. The only thing that I'm going to give Avowed a high score in is
I would not actually agree with the last 3 points.
exploration. The game has fantastic exploration, and I wish other RPGs would do exploration like Avowed. But aside from that, the game is not.
You know what? Avowed is not my type of exploration. Yeah, it has exploration, but there's two types of exploration. There's one type of exploration where go straight, but you know that there's shit on the side. And there's the other type of exploration that, again, I think Fallout New Vegas does very well. That I think a lot of all the Fallout games do very well. And that is, well, I gotta go somewhere yonder there. And it's like, you move, and there's like, wait a minute, that looks like a thingamajiggy. And you're like, okay, well, now I'm off there. And, things like that. So those are two types of exploration. Intentionally just showing you where there's stuff because you're a retard. And then there's just, hey, if you decide to go in that way for no reason, you're finding stuff, baby. But there's nothing to tell you that there's anything there in the first place. It's just if you choose to wander off, you're finding stuff.
Good. Like, it has very bare bone basic bitch combat. I spent, and I'm not kidding, you can look at my streams if you don't believe me. I spent over 80% of the game spamming the same two skills. I'm not kidding. The same two
Seems about
skills,
right.
the same combat combos. I literally would just power attack with my mace, build up stun quickly, and then stun lock the enemy. That's literally all I would do. I would do it for bosses too. It was ridiculously boring that every time I was finding myself in combat, unless there was a ton of enemies, I was not having much fun. The
Yeah, the combat is basic, but it kind of feels good. That's probably the best thing you can say about Avowed.
environments, they're pretty freaking ugly until the last couple of environments, and then they get interesting. The story, let's not even get into the story because I fell asleep during the stream and after the stream. I'm not kidding. I was late to Hypnocast one night because I fell asleep after playing Avowed. It's that boring of a story. And then he says, you know what? It does all those things well. No, it doesn't. Its story is maybe the weakest of those points. That's true. But even then, as a fan of textured, sleepy world building and nuanced fantasy politics, I've been having a grand time. And again, you can have a grand time. That's perfectly fine. But the people with a brain over at PC Gamer that are telling you, hey, this is baby's first RPG, it's missing a lot of things that it should have, especially when it's charging $70. See, this is my biggest issue with Avowed. Avowed should be a game that came out retail price for $49.99 at best. That is what Avowed should have came out at, because that was
Still do I, Hypnotic. Please. I understand you're making a lot in that coca field you probably are making this video from, but come on, you know that this is too much for Avowed. $30 is at most what you want to pay for a AA game that fucking dares to try and pronounce itself as AAA. Anyway, that was Hypnotic 10 out of 10. Bye.